Hello and welcome to another episode of the Medbay podcast by Quantum Jump Medical. I'm Bob Harkin, and with me is Mike Spector.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. You were waiting for the long intro, weren't you?
I was.
I couldn't think of anything this time, so that's why it didn't happen. We are going to be talking about the next big thing, the next big couple things coming into Star Citizen over the next couple months. We are looking forward to 4.0. That's the next big patch that it will be coming out, but we also have to get through 3.23 first. There are some things that were held back that we've kind of talked about a little bit before, but we kind of want to go back through and see what they've changed, what they've added. Obviously some new ships since we've talked last, things that we are very excited about that we're utilizing within our organization. But we're going to be talking about some 3.23 things that are coming up that got held back and will be coming up in a later dot patch, and then we will be looking forward to the big expansion of 4.0. So let's get into it. What are we going to talk about first?
Well, in our initial 3.23, we didn't have the Mirai pulses on that list just yet. So we got two new Grav bikes, the Mirai Pulse and the Mirai Pulse LX. The LX is for the racing model, and the Mirai Pulse has the special bespoke gun. We did cover them in our Invictus launch week walkthrough of the showroom floors, so not too much to add on those. The NURSA was released, the medical Ursa rover.
The other
like
medevac.
That's really good. Yeah, the other medevac. The one with wheels, not with wings. That one's really cool. We got a couple of those now.
Yeah, I've got it loaded up in my Carrack right now.
Oh, yeah?
Yep.
I haven't reloaded my Carrack yet. We also got the Argo MPUV tractor, which I really like, but I feel like it also kind of made the Argo Cargo irrelevant.
Yeah.
Because the Argo Cargo had 2 SCU inside that like special container, and this one can hold 16.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of...
But still really cool.
It's a little bit of what they're doing with some other ships where they're phasing the original ones out and coming up with new versions.
Speaking of which, let's go ahead and talk about that.
Yep.
You can no longer purchase the Mark 1 Hornet.
They have phased it out.
Yeah, so this is the first ship that we've had like this, where it's completely phased out. You can't buy it in game, can't buy it on the website. They did say there will be ways that you can earn them or purchase them later on down the road through like special events, but for the most part, they're gone. If you have them, they will be gold standardized. They will continue to receive support through various updates. However, you will no longer be able to purchase them. They are now pushing the new Hornet Mark IIs. What was that face?
Nothing. Don't worry about it.
Okay. And they did say with the Hornet Mark IIs, they will have a variant for each one like they did with the Mark I. So expect the Heartseeker Mark II, the Ghost, the Tracker variant, the Super Hornet. Super Hornet Mark II would probably be really cool to see.
Yeah, it's interesting that they are doing like covering the entire gamut of the Hornets. Where and they've announced that, like, they could have just said, oh yeah, we're doing this one, and then just not said anything about the rest of them, and it came late. They did officially say that.
The other thing is, with them doing this with the Hornets, I've looked into it, and it makes more sense for them to make a new ship with these older, outdated ships, because when you rework a ship, you now have already taken something, redoing it from the ground up and changing it. Look at the 600. They're redoing the 600. It's taken them forever since the announcement of that. They're still going to do it, but every person with the 600 kind of gets a free upgrade to this new variant, this new not variant, this new ship, like a free upgrade to the new interior and everything. The price goes up in the ship, and then anybody who wants one will have to buy it. And let's say there's 100 people who have the 600, they get that upgrade. And then like 10 more people buy it because they think it's cool. They've only made 10 people pay for this ship, as opposed to with a whole new 600 Mark II. They revamped it and kept the old one as it is. They still get those initial 10 people to buy the Mark II. Those people with the Mark I would be like, oh, that Mark II is actually really cool. Even if they CCU it for an additional $20, it's $20 more than what they would have gotten if they just did a redo.
Right. Well, and they said in the, what was it, Inside Star Citizen or SCL, that they basically had to go back to the drawing board, even if they wanted to change just a few things, or like gold standard or bring something up to date. A lot of the times they have to go back and like completely reconcept. They have to do all like start basically from scratch and redo all these things. So like you said, at that point, yes, the monetary value, of course, they're going to get those people to update, but at the same time, it's basically making a new ship anyway. So they might as well just make a Mark II. It sounds like it's on their end, it's easier because of the way that the development has happened, where they've iterated a few times on like even how to make a ship has changed so much from the devs talking. That has changed so much that it's a completely different system, completely different way of doing things that just doesn't work in the whatever the new iteration of the game is. So they have to completely overhaul it. Like, obviously we can still use the ships that are in there, but if they want to change things or add things or make things more functional, they're going to have to, it almost sounds like all of the old ships, they're going to have to do that anyway to go back and just get them into this new system and new pipeline and new concepting. Like I said, with the 600i rework, that's basically what they're doing. They're starting from scratch almost. It's a complete redesign anyway. They're kind of changing the entire mid and back section of the ship, so they are pretty much reconcepting it. So it's interesting to see and hear that from them, saying like, hey, we have to completely go back like from square one and redo this whole thing. So like you say, things are going to take time, and then we probably are going to get more of these Mark IIs and these phase outs. I'm sure there's going to be some classics they'll probably hold on to, probably the Freelancer and some of the old ships, but I do think they're going to come up to these Mark IIs more often as we kind of get closer and closer to 1.0 and past that.
Yeah, definitely. Two ships that do come to mind. You mentioned one was the Freelancer series. Wow, great for 2019, 2018. Ships like the Spirits and the Zeuses that are coming out. The Zeuses destroyed the Freelancer series. Like the Spirit versus the Freelancer was close, but the Spirit was much longer, like wider, and it kind of put people away from that because there's a lot of unused space. But these Zeuses are going to destroy the Freelancer series, and as far as like just spec wise. Now, obviously, it does come down to personal preference of which one you want. If you want a giant flying dildo, or if you want a flying giant Dorito chip, you got the two options.
True.
Why are you laughing, Bob? But you got the two options there. So both have their pros and cons, but one will be significantly statistically better, especially with the Freelancer series shields. They have less shields than the upcoming Zeuses that have 4 and 3 shield generators on them.
Right. Well, and like you said, the wasted space, and they just didn't know how the game was going to work and function, and they tried to pack a lot of things in the Freelancer, especially having those 4 crew seats up front in the cockpit and the bunks and everything else. Like, it's more likely that it would have been a 2-seater like the Spirits if they had made them now, and just would have spaced that out a little better. And maybe they could have had 3 or 4 crew, but one would be be working on engineering, and one would be in the turret, and they would be hot bunking. You'd still have the 2 bunks, but people would be swapping out, because that's how most military ships work. And even you think of trucking, like you have the driver, and then he swaps out with the person that they swap in and out, so one person can drive when the other person's sleeping. So it's definitely something that we see today, but like I said, they just kind of tried to cram all these things together, and it's not how the game works now, or how they're kind of looking at it now. It's completely different from when they designed it in 2012 or whenever they first concepted those specific ships. I was going to say the Constellation series, but I think those things need a whole rework. And like you said, the Zeuses are kind of like their RSI as well, so they're kind of taking that role a little bit. Obviously, they are probably going to be a little smaller in the capacities and stuff, but I think they're kind of filling that role in RSI, so I don't know that they will necessarily go back and touch the Constellations, even though there are a lot of people that like the Constellations, but obviously we all know that they need a rework of at least the bridge needs a redesign so you can actually see out of the damn things. But
they definitely kind of needed some touch-ups at the bare minimum. But a version of V2 Connie would be pretty cool.
Yeah, there's definitely things that, I mean, I think we've talked about it here on the podcast of the things that they do need to change. And it's not my favorite ship by any means, but one that I really enjoy is the Phoenix. And I know, I will admit, there's definitely some bad choices that they made when they were designing that thing. Like you said, the not having a bathroom in the back end, you have to go into the crew area. Not having an entrance and exit for the VIP guests also is a poor design, and then having the cargo bay can be completely dark when you're trying to go down get into your rover is just silly. Like, that would not happen especially a luxury vehicle like that. But the
cargo bay door is just a trap door in the middle of the floor with a button next to it.
Yeah, a button on the floor of all things. Like,
you step on that button as you're walking forward, you open the door and you fall right in.
You're in the trap door, exactly. So it's just things like that, and then things across the entire line that don't make much sense or just need some updating. So I can definitely see a Mark II. If they get to that point. Like I said, though, I think right now their focus is on the Zeus because it kind of fills those roles a little bit, because there is the exploration and the military and the cargo variants that they can kind of lean on for now, at least.
So we do have one more vehicle to talk about that came out for Invictus that was a straight to flyable. There was one that was a concept. So the straight to flyable, I don't think I've ever been so excited for a ship, so disappointed for a ship, mildly excited for a ship, and then disappointed for the ship, all within about a week.
Yeah, there was a lot of speculation.
As soon as I saw that picture of the Aegis Saber with a red scheme on Star Citizen's Twitter, I was as happy as can be. I posted immediately. I kept speculating about it. I was all about this ship. Like, oh, is it going to be a quantum interdiction one? Is it going to be a fighter? I was going crazy. And then they gave us a missile variant. And at first I was like, that brings it down a little bit for me. Not too bad. And then I saw it in game and, I was like, okay, it looks really good. It looks really clean. It flies, pretty well. I flew it a little bit on the first day in the PTU. Flew it a little bit. And then when we actually got the specs of it, it was 12 size 3 missiles. And that's where it instantly became, I hate this ship. Because the Talon Shrike, which is half the size and almost half the price, had 24 size 3 missiles. Now, yes, it has 2 size 1 guns instead of the 2 size 3 guns that the Raven has, or that the Saber has. That's minuscule for a missile thing. You're not going to be out there using it. And I was like, okay, I probably won't get it, even though I've always wanted a Saber Raven, and this is on the same chassis. Then they talked about upping the missile count to the 24, and which they did, or which they're about to. That patch hasn't dropped just yet, but it's going to have 24 size 3 missiles. That makes it better. It makes it significantly better than how it should have been day one. But then their Q&A for the ship, I could not agree with. Not so much as somebody who wants the ship, but even as a player of Star Citizen. The first question really bothered me of why would I choose the Firebird over a standard Saber? And it was due to the exclusive nature of the Saber Raven. Most people will not have access to this. So we gave you a missile variant, and that's all you're going to get. And that just kind of set me off in a wrong way.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I think part of it was they hyped it as like the second coming of the Raven, like you said, because they're not going to ever let anybody have that except for those people that bought the Intel version. And so they really used that hype of everybody thought it was going to be. I mean, I guess, is it that they changed what it actually does? Or, I mean, obviously you're talking about the underarmed, like when they first brought it out, obviously that wasn't going to fly and wouldn't really serve much of a purpose. But I know hearing a lot of people, they were speculating that it was going to be in the same class. It would be like an interdictor and have those like the QED or whatever. And is that part of what is so disappointing, I guess, that they changed it so much? Or I guess what did you really want out of it when you first heard about it?
I thought way they had the red on it, it replaced the blue of the Raven. So the blue, the Saber Raven is an EMP one, does EMP, and EMPs are blue, and the quantum entanglement field is red. So that kind of like put 2 and 2 together. Like, okay, it's probably going to be a quantum interdiction one, and I really hoped it would have been the second ship in game that we have with both a snare and a dampening system.
Right.
Because currently only the Mantis has both.
Yeah.
Everybody else just has the dampening system. I thought it would be really cool to have finally a second ship that does both. And what a better one to do it with than a interdictory fighter that, with master modes in SCM mode, is way faster than any ship is going to be, which it is. It's hella fast. It's like 300 meters a second in SCM mode, which is almost double some of these other ships. Would have been perfect. Would have been a perfect ship. 10 out of 10. Just give it two size 3s and 2 size 2s, or 4 size 2s, or 4 size 3s, however you wanted to do it. That would have been perfect. When it became a missile one, it was kind of like you have a specialty ship, the Raven, it does EMP. Then you have the regular Sabers, which were all, the Saber and the Saber Comet, which are just standard stealth fighters. And then it had the 12 size 3 missiles. Like I said, the Shrike thing kind of irritated me. I instantly remembered the Shrike having 24.
Sure.
And then looking at the standard Saber, it had almost the same amount of missile damage output as the Firebird if you switched them all to size 1 missiles. Like, you have to shoot more and more missiles out, but you have like 2,000 less damage. And, 2,000 doesn't, that's a lot. But when you're looking at 39,000 as opposed to 37,000 DPS, that's not a lot.
Right.
And it had 4 size 3 guns.
Yeah.
It's like, why would I choose this over that? So the Firebird was just on a big decline. And we were trying to help our members finish off their Xeno threat intel raids. And we're doing the fleet battles. And I have learned with precision mode, I absolutely love it. I love shooting out the hammerhead's guns and making them basically useless. That way it's easy to kill, and those waves are super fast with the new master mode system. So I tried it with the Firebird because I wanted to fly the Firebird a little bit. It is so slow in a strafe. It can't keep up. In a straight line, perfect. If you're doing straight, great. If you need to turn, adjust, strafe left and right, do anything else besides go straight, it's horrible. My F8 is way more maneuverable at SCM speeds than an interdictory fighter. And I know that's kind of the purpose of it, based on the way the missiles go down and then up, which they don't go up. Last time I flew it, they were a little bugged. They just went down. They never curved. But, ignoring Star Citizen, we're going based on how it should promptly look and how it should promptly work. It was just such a letdown. Like, I don't think I was more excited about the Firebird than I was about the Polaris. That's saying something for me.
That's saying a lot.
And as soon as I flew the Firebird, I was like, this is kind of cool. And then I started thinking about it, I'm like, this really sucks.
Wait a minute.
Ass. Like, it was just a disappointment for me.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't think I've ever had a ship in Star Citizen disappoint me more than that. It's like my number one least favorite ship right now. It is past the Banu Merchantman. It is past the Phoenix. It is at the bottom of my want list, and it was beyond the top.
Right. I know you were talking about
for
it.
the Raven, I did so much to try to get a Raven. I contacted Intel. I knew someone who worked at Intel and told them, hey, find one of these things for me. I was trying to get a Raven for the hardest time, like, because I just don't want to pay $10,000 for one of the codes. It's such a letdown that honestly the Ravens now dropped down on my top 10 list because I'm just kind of sick of it.
Yeah, I think it's just like the expectations that people had, and like you said, having the look and name of the Raven, like pulling from that. I think everybody was expecting something completely different, and then you're paying a premium to upgrade from the regular saber and you're not getting much out of it. I just think it was just kind of just a miss on their part. I mean, I think this was probably one of those things that they're like, oh, I can't remember if they said this one was a new person working on it or how they said the development went, but I think it was just something that they threw out there and said, hey, work on this and get it out there. And I mean, maybe they can tweak it and fit it out and make it a little more enjoyable, but I think it just was a huge swing and a miss, unfortunately, from CIG. And I think I also, I mean, like you said, people were excited about it, but I also think people are getting a little bit tired of fighters. Like, we've had so many single seat and 2-seat fighters that have come out over the last couple years and like not really gone to those specializations. I mean, we've got some like the Vulture and stuff like that and some things in other gameplay loops, but really like the majority of things that we've got, it's either been a fighter or has a big gun on it or in some way has.
Yeah, I mean, we just got the Mark IIs.
So we're just hot off of that.
Those were perfect. I think the Firebird turned into a Cutlass Steel situation where it was a wonderful idea executed horribly.
Yeah. They had a specific idea in mind.
If they launched with the 24 missiles at the start, it may not have been so bad.
Yeah, I think that really like deflated everybody's enjoyment and just kind of said, even when they kind of updated it, everybody was just like, I'm over it already. So I definitely don't think they sold as many as they thought they were going to. But
I will give them credit, though. I will give CIG some credit. They announced the change 2 days after its release. So it's still available for purchase. It is coming. It's not like, oh, and the 4.0 patch, we're going to change it. No, they're doing it. And the patch is supposed to drop this upcoming week, the first week of June. So that way they can start testing the next features for 3.23.2 that we'll get to here shortly. But, they did it quick. They realized the mistake. They got it going and they're going to fix it relatively quickly.
I think that's one thing. It's very interesting to me that the last couple weeks that we've been playing and thinking about and talking about Star Citizen just within our org and stuff, they've had really, really, really bad communication, but then they've been fixing things so fast. Like, it's such a weird dichotomy of like, there's been multiple things where they've just pissed off the entire community, or maybe it's a vocal minority. We'll let them decide, but they've like just pissed off a whole slew of their fans, but then they like are very quick on things like this to kind of rectify it or put something out there. There have been a few things where they've just been like super quiet about, and we've been waiting to hear what their thoughts are, but then there are other things where, like you said, they're on this one specifically, they're getting in there and updating it real fast. I mean, it's kind of like the missile changes is what the other thing I'm thinking about, and how they didn't talk about it and then they said, oh, this was a test, we're changing it back, don't worry. It's just very interesting to see those like two sides of the coin where it's like absolute horrible communication, but then like super great quick fixes to things.
We got one more ship to talk about, and I will easily say that this ship won Invictus. They said, hey, this is the last time you're going to get the Polaris at the low price of $750. It is going up. The next time it will be on sale. They let you know, hey, this is the last time you're going to get the Mark 1s. They had 3 new straight-to-flyable ships, the Medevac, the 1T, and the Firebird. But this concept got almost 3 times as many sales to any of the other days during Invictus launch week. On the first day it was out. And it wasn't even Invictus. It was DefenseCon.
Yeah.
And we're talking about the Drake Ironclad, or the Iron Chad as it's been known so far.
I still like Fatterpillar, but that's just me.
Caterpillar is good. I didn't hear that one.
Oh, yeah.
But let me tell you about this ship. This is as dumb of a design as it is, because it's just a box. It's literally a brick. But the design, the look, the functionality of the ship is probably the best ship that I've seen come out of CIG in years. Like, I can't think of another ship that I was instantly like, buy. I don't give a shit about the price. I don't give a shit about anything. It was an instant buy, no matter what the cost of the ship was. It was sold for $1,000. I probably still would have bought one. Like I said, it's a brick. It's what someone find out it's like 3 times thicker than a Caterpillar.
Yeah, you can put the caterpillars side by side and like fit 3 of them on there. It really seems with this one that they really thought about the actual gameplay. Like they didn't just make it like, oh, we want a cool concept. We want it to be this specific shape or size or whatever. They like really looked at how the gameplay works and how it's going to work. And like really, like you said, the design is just perfect on it, because we'll talk about the details a little bit. I think the best overall part of it, well, and I guess we should say that there are actually 2 versions of the Ironclad that came out with this, and both of them we're still waiting on a couple details to be specified, but if it's exactly like we think it is, it's just like you said, the perfect design for this type of ship. And I this is one I'm not usually one to buy big ships, and I like moved things around and made sure I could get one of these because I think it's such a cool ship and useful and has that Drake aesthetic that I really enjoy.
It screams Drake.
Yeah, very much so. And it's very much a, like, they always hint at this, but like very much able to be the pirate ship that you want it to be. Like they always kind of word around it where they're like, oh yeah, doing operations in space where you're moving things around. And we all know what that means is, I mean, even like the Corsair, they're like, yeah, it's an explorer exploring other people's cargo. But yeah, so, it really takes on that role. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we're just going to get into the ship. It's just a fat brick. I mean, I don't know how else to describe the ship. It's literally just a rectangle with some pipes and tubes sticking out the end. Mm-hmm. It is great. So the front part of the ship has a big like loading ramp, comes down and you can bring your cargo in. It is a cargo vessel. It's like a barge. Think of a big barge in the ocean. You open it up, you load your cargo in, and like you're greeted with a football field empty box. It's not as big as a football field, but it's basically what it is.
It's pretty damn
And
big.
you can load your cargo up into there. You load your cargo up into that. Behind there is like a little, I guess it's like equipment storage facility from what they've said. So you can put a few Drake mules back there. You can put some other like trolleys back there. And that's like where your habitation and engineering is back in that far back end. And then there's like rafters on the side that go along the length of it, similar to how like the Caterpillar is, how they have that long catwalk. Yeah. But then it brings you to the front, which is the secure storage, where it's kind of be like evidence lockers. It's like you put your cargo in there, you can actually like lock it up. And
yeah, they kept saying that's what they based it off of, was like police evidence lockers. I will say it's so weird because now I know where it all like how it all lays out. But in my mind, for some reason, it was on those things were on the backside. I don't know why I thought that, but like the way they were describing it in the ISC, I really thought it was like basically under that bridge, that command module thing, or not command module, because that's a different thing. Under that bridge section. Yeah. For whatever reason, I had it in my head that it was back there. I think it works very well being up front. That makes sense to me, but I had it backwards for some reason.
We'll talk about that command bridge. This is the big part in the middle. It's just above the main armored door. We didn't talk about the armored door, but we want it in a second. Yes. You actually don't fly the ship from the command bridge, which is really weird. It just kind of gives you an overview of this top door. And I keep saying top door because the whole top of it will actually retract in, and it's like an open, like a stadium. It opens up, and then there's like your big floor plan, so you can pull cargo in from space that you are flying around. Maybe the cargo fell off a whole sea or something, right? we know how it got there. Police don't. But yeah, you can load up the cargo that way, or even bring in small flyable ships. You can bring them in and land inside, kind of like a little cool hangar. It's very Liberator in that sense.
Yeah.
And that's why I really liked it. because I love the Liberator.
Yeah, that's one that's been on my list. I just hadn't ever pulled the trigger on it, but seeing the Ironclad just yeah, I'll probably get there eventually.
So you're probably wondering at this point, where do you fly the ship from? If it's not the main central bridge that's perfectly centered in the ship and great view of everything and all that, no. Maybe it's in the front in that secure storage area, kind of like an RSI ship. It's in the front, so you can easily see what's in front of you.
Also, no.
Nope. It is a little cockpit thing, similar to the Caterpillar, that hangs off the port side of the ship. That's my one issue with it, is I don't like where that's at. I don't like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand. I think they wanted it to look like the Caterpillar, but it just feels like it's thrown in there. Like it doesn't make any sense.
I feel like it's too big to have a thing like that. And that's the command module, is that one. It also functions as your escape pod in emergency situations. So I think we're going to talk about a little bit more of the specs of this thing. Since we've described the first one, the base Iron Chad, we're going to talk about a little bit of the specs. So the role is armored cargo. It's 120 meters in length, 52 wide, 20 high, 1,500 SCU of cargo space. A lot of cargo.
Yeah. They kind of said that they were looking to have, like, I know we have medium haulers, what we call medium haulers now, but it sounded like this was trying to be that like middle area between the like very small cargo and then the whole seas and above, like that area where there's not really much cargo.
600 on a C2 versus the 4,000 on a hull C. Yeah, a lot of cargo in it. So it does have a size 3 quantum drive, 4 size 3 shield generators. So those are those big shield generators that are on like the Redeemer and the Hammerhead and stuff. 1 pilot seat, 1 co-pilot seat, 2 remote turrets, and 2 man turrets. And those include the internal tractor beam turret. So there's a tractor beam turret on the inside of the main cargo bay, just underneath that command bridge, I believe. And then you have the gun turret on the right side front, and then the other tractor beam on the left side front that bring cargo in through the ramp. A lot of firepower in it. A couple remote turrets on the top as well. Definitely a unique design with the one turret on one side and the tractor beam on the other side. It's a little weird. Would have liked to see 2 turrets and then a tractor beam in the front and then one inside. Would have been a little bit more sense. But the command module, once it's detached from the ship, is its own ship in its own. And that does have, size 1 quantum drive built into it. So it is its own shuttle ship. Like, you can quantum travel with this. It's size 1 shield generator, 6 jump seats, navigations, comms, co-pilot, pilot. So a lot of chairs in it too. 10 seats. Quite a bit.
Well, and they talked about the whole capacity of the Ironclad and how, obviously, like you said, it's the kind of the escape pod, so people are going to have to rush into this command module and break off.
And what's also kind of cool is it does have its own size 2 remote turret on top.
Well, and I feel that's a lot different than the Caterpillar version.
So even when you detach and you're flying away, you have at least something to shoot back with.
Yeah, that was what I was worried about, was just like not having any firepower or not having any protection while you're trying to get away. Because, I mean, how fast is that thing really going to be compared to a fighter or whoever is trying to attack you? But if it can kind of keep people at bay while it's trying to jump, that does make sense to me, and it's going to be able to get out of there. But I do... The one thing I can see, and you kind of mentioned like this looking like a barge, and that really like put it together with the Caterpillar and then the Ironclad, how they're wanting to make, and they've talked about how, especially with the Caterpillar, where you would be able to detach, you'd fill up the bays, the cargo bays on the Caterpillar, and then you'd take it to wherever, and you detach, and then somebody could empty it out, and then you just attach to a full one. So I think there is still that idea, and I could see that kind of working the same with the Ironclad, where you bring in the crew, you connect up with the center, the box, and you take off with it, and then you just drop it off with whatever the shipping department or whatever. You drop it off, and then you're out going again because you just hooked up to a new box. Kind of thing. That would be kind of a cool way to actually do this, and whether it's probably not going to be like you're going to a shipping depot or a station and dropping off your box. You're going to your base and dropping off a box and connecting to a different base kind of thing, where you're actually working with your org or working with a logistics company kind of thing, where you would be swapping these out. You'd be working for them. The command module would kind of be your own, but then you would connect up to the box and be able to take it over and bring your whole crew with you, because you'd have those drop seats. So that's kind of how when they talked about it, how I see it working. And like you said, I think you said the perfect word, barge, because that's kind of how they work. Like the ship is its own thing, and then it connects up to the actual containers and whatever it's needing to move back and forth. And they've kind of, I guess, I don't know if they've talked about it, but there's been a lot of talk and speculation. Like the Caterpillar is like a semi-truck. The command module is just the tractor, and then you're connecting up to the trailer kind of thing. So that's kind of how I see it. Like, this is just the bigger version of that.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. You bring in your full one, it's getting unloaded. You just grab an empty one
and you're back out on the lanes.
Pretty cool. That's a good idea. So let's talk about the one that they didn't have a name for, the Ironclad Assault.
Assault.
Yeah. So this one still does have cargo. Instead of the 1,500, it has 1,100.
Which is still a lot of cargo.
A lot of cargo still. It is known as a heavy drop ship, so it still has the opening garage. Like, everything's the same. Big difference dimension-wise of this ship is the main front ramp is lifted. So like, it has a higher clearance to allow the Ballista and the Spartan to drive in with no issues, as opposed to the cargo variant. It has the same shield, same everything. Let's get to the seating section of this one, because this is where the seating does change quite a bit. One pilot, one co-pilot, 4 remote turrets, 2 man turrets. Now, they placed that tractor beam on the left side with a man turret. So now it's just all man turrets all the way through, and remote turrets. It's all guns, no tractor beams, nothing. But there's also 34 jump seats, and those are lined across the wall on the main cargo area, and also in the front, like, garage area. So you can put a lot of people in this thing and a lot of equipment. What's also really cool about the Assault variant is it's designed to be more of a drop ship. So picture and concepts that they show for it have 4 Nova tanks sitting in there in a 2 front and back in there. So it can hold 4 tanks, which is more than a C2 can. C2 can comfortably hold 2, squeeze in 3. And I'm sure there's somebody, well, if you go and turn them sideways, you can get 6 in there. Yeah, but have fun getting them out quickly.
That's the entire.
You gotta sit there.
That's the entire point of a drop ship.
Drop ship.
You want to get out quick. You don't want to be messing around.
So then it comes to the point of, well, the standard one can do the same thing. It has a more cargo capacity, so that means it has a longer cargo bay. Yes, because part of our cargo bay on the Assault variant is replaced with a service area. And the service area has stuff like component fabrication, rearm and refueling garage abilities and stuff like that. So it could do a lot more in that back area.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think it's very cool that it's going to have like a fabrication section that's part of that rear area. Like, you're going to actually be able to make components. I wish, or I hope they tell us soon what exactly all we can make. Like, I know people have asked, can I do ship components, or is it pretty much just ground vehicles? Like, what does that actually entail? Can I make, I just thought about this now, can I make components for the Ironclad? Can I make large, like, giant components? I doubt that they'll probably let us do that, but I imagine like fighters and tanks and stuff, components for those smaller vehicles. But we'll see how that how that works once they do kind of concept it and figure it out.
And the cross section on the Ironclad does show a tank back there in the service area without the top turret.
Yeah, I saw
that. So
does
that mean we can fabricate the whole top of it? Can we just build a tank in the Ironclad? That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, that would be very cool.
Yeah, 3D printing tanks and just keep sending them out wave after wave after wave after wave.
That would be so cool. Yeah,
that would be awesome.
I did see that in that concept picture. That was, I don't know that many people have actually talked about that, but yeah, you actually do see like just the tracks basically of a Nova tank and missing the top turret and stuff. So it'll be interesting to see.
Other than that, it's all the same. I got the assault one.
Yeah, same. That's the one I wanted because like I said, I was interested in the Liberator, but I think I feel like this is a very updated version of the Liberator. I mean, I think there is still good things and bad things about the Liberator over the Assault. So, but I think this is like getting to some of those things that we were wanting with the Liberator, but giving us a little more opportunities to change things around and having that.
Yeah.
Having that cover, I think, is like something that everybody was wanting. Like the Liberator, everything except for the ground vehicles is open to space, and actually, if you're on the top, doesn't even cover the shields. Don't even cover your ship. So I think having that covered section is something that people have been looking for and wanting to be a little more secure.
Yeah, when I was looking at the Ironclad, I was like, okay, it's going to be probably expensive. So I will probably CCU my Liberator to it. Like, that was my initial plan. And then when I saw the price, I was like, well, I can melt my Liberator and then apply the credit, for CCU of this from another ship. But then I was thinking about it, and I saw the loaner for this ship, and I was very disappointed in the loaner. I don't know why I got a little disappointed in the loaner. The Liberator's loaner is a M2 and a Super Hornet. The Ironclad is just and only a Caterpillar, which just seems a little weird. Like, they didn't give us a Buccaneer at least with it, like just a Caterpillar. I was a little disappointed in that, and that's what made me not melt my Liberator. I just paid for it. I just bought the Ironclad because the M2, having M2 until the Liberator's out is amazing. The M2 carries everything that we ever need to carry for bigger ships or bigger ground vehicles at the time. So right. I just couldn't give it a fit.
And that's fair. I think, I wonder if it goes to their main focus. Obviously, with the Assault, we are a little more on the military, fighting back kind of thing. But I wonder if their initial thoughts were the Ironclad is pretty much just, the main focus is cargo. So that's kind of why they gave us the Caterpillar. But yeah, it is kind of surprising that they didn't give us a fighter to go along with it at that size and capacity. And especially with the Assault version, you'd think they would have given us a little more something on the military side.
Yeah, a little bit extra. I mean, nothing's wrong, just the Caterpillar. But, when you see the Liberator, you were great ships. Right. And this just gives you an okay ship. It's kind of whatever. Yeah. I mean, I have a Caterpillar until this thing comes out. Now, I know everyone in the org keeps giving me a hard time that I believe too much into what CIG says. And I do, because it's more funny than anything. But they have mentioned that anything shown on ISC and in Star Citizen Live is stuff that they're actively working on ship-wise as of now. And they expect to have them done within the next 6-ish months. Or anything shown on those is within 6 months expectancy. Now, how true that is, it's CIG. We know it's not true. But I will say, based on this last year's CitizenCon, they have been holding up their end of the deal over the next 12 months. For the most part, I would say at least 90 to 95% of everything is on track and good to go for the next 12 months. So I'm okay with, they've showing that they have the opportunity to, now that 2042 is basically complete. So the question, Bob, realistic, we know it's not going to come in 6 months. However, do you believe we will have probably like gray box within 6 months and probably like an early next year release date?
I think it's possible. I would think it would be, obviously you'd like to see it in Invictus, but I think it would be in IAE at the earliest of next year.
Next year?
Yeah, like you said, I think we could see, I think pretty soon we could probably see white box, and then, like you say, maybe towards the end of the year they show us gray box or tell us that it's in gray box. Yeah, I definitely think it's, because especially when they're focusing, especially their big ship team is really focused on RSI right now. I'm really wanting them to get the Galaxy done so I can fly that around. I know you're waiting on your Polaris and it's coming at IAE, which they specifically said confirmed. It's definitely, whether it's done or not.
And they say, what if it's not ready or not?
Yeah.
I'm going to have like a whole like fully fledged out exterior and like
Yeah.
most of it's going to be fledged out. Then engineering's just gray box.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. They just do the wireframe. You just walk back to engineering. It's just a wireframe mesh.
It's just gray, and like the components are just sitting in like little boxes and stuff.
Yeah.
It'd be great.
Yeah. So I think they're especially their big ship team is going to be working on those in the near future. But I can definitely see. I think they're wanting, and especially when they put it out like this, I think there's nothing really holding it back. Obviously, cargo is completely in. We don't have to wait on any gameplay there. I mean, we're waiting on personal hangars, which we'll get to. And even the dropship, the assault can come in because it's just dropping off ground vehicles. So I don't see any reason for them to hold it back. So I can definitely see like this is the next big thing. We're even if they do like, oh, we're going to work on MISC next or something like that, I think they could fit this into that schedule where they just like knock this thing out, and then that way they have the assets, because I talked about that, where they have like those large ship assets ready to go for the next biggest thing after it. So I think I have a feeling they're doing that with a lot of the manufacturers right now. I think there's maybe, this is just speculation obviously, but I think it would be interesting if they're doing that with all of the manufacturers, where they're making those bigger ships or slightly bigger ships to where they can get those like that design language of each manufacturer, so that it's easier to jump to those larger ships, because there are still a lot on the backlog that we're waiting for. So while yes, we're super excited for this concept, and I definitely think it could come out sooner rather than later. There are those ones that we've been waiting for, that these concepts and these ships that they can push through the pipeline quicker because they're newer gives them the opportunity to look at what those older designs can look like and how to shape them into the language that they're going for now. And we talked about it at the beginning. I talked about them redoing the entire ship pipeline, and I think bringing the things in like this at this stage does make it a lot faster. I don't think it's 6 or 12 months necessarily, but definitely faster than we've seen in the past. And I think they will get to those things. I mean, I think they'll get to the BMM eventually, but I don't think it's a priority, because they're going to have to, I feel like they're going to have to reconcept it again, even though that team did all that work. I think they're going to have to go back to the drawing board a little bit to kind of figure out where they were, where everything sits. Like I think they'll use some of the functionality and details, but I think they'll bring in whatever our team and say, all right, this is yours now. Make it how you would.
I mean, that's what they're doing now, right? Like the Polaris, while only being one of the older ones on the 3 Polaris ships that they're going to be working on, they're using that as the baseline for the Galaxy and the Perseus. And upon completion of the Polaris, it completes a lot of the assets and stuff that they can reuse for the Galaxy and Perseus. And they did mention with the Ironclad that completion of this will fast track the Kraken.
Yeah, that'll put those assets in their like toolbox, basically.
You know, if let's say, let's split the difference, right? Let's go 9 months. Let's say, Q1 of next year, the Ironclad releases. Realistically, because I'm sure I've mentioned on the podcast before, because it's one of the cool little nifty facts that I know about Star Citizen. The hologram that is located at Cousin Crow's of the Kraken is the full-size scale Kraken that they had at IAE years ago. I don't remember what year, 2018 or something like that, 2019, is the full-scale version of that ship shrunken down. So with the assets of the Ironclad and technically completion of the exterior, they just have to redo some of the exterior parts with the new modeling that they have from the Ironclad. The Kraken probably, 2 years away. It's possible. I'm not saying it will be, but it could be possible when you look at how fast they plan to have these ships out. Once the Polaris is out, they plan to have the Galaxy and the Perseus out next year. So realistically speaking, if they can keep that momentum, keep these teams working and going based on the Ironclad and what's already pre-done of the Kraken, 2 years away doesn't seem like a joke. It seems possible. Look at the interest. The interest, it's a bunch of hallways, but it's done. We've flown it, or not we, but very popular YouTubers with the help of a hacker got to fly it. We're going to start seeing these larger ships come in faster than I think a lot of people are expecting.
Yeah, I definitely think the pace is going to pick up. And I think this probably does hint at Drake being the next manufacturer. The fact that they put the Ironclad out there as a concept, like it would make sense that would be the next thing that they're going to focus on.
Yeah, and they had the full static or concept mesh. They had the concept mesh in the video, and it looked pretty well done. It seems like they know what they want the ship to be, which is always the hard part for a concept. Yeah, cool, we have a picture, right? And now we have to mold it and model it and stuff. But if they have a full concept mesh, I don't know if they have a full concept mesh, but we saw quite a bit of concept mesh. They have a full concept mesh. We're gonna get it way sooner than later. Within a year is easily achievable if Drake is going to be that next manufacturer.
It'll all depend on their priorities especially in the shipbuilding artists and all that stuff, what their priorities are. But yeah, I definitely think it could be sooner than we think, building that out.
So I mean that's how I'm seeing it. I mean, obviously, take everything you hear with a grain of salt, and rub that salt into any open wounds that you have, and that's how you play Star Citizen. But I'm just going based on what we're seeing now, what we've seen from October to today, June, and how much of what was said, hey, is coming. I think, it proves that Squadron 42 was the holdback for the PU, considering they're just now polishing it, considering it's feature complete.
Yeah,
pretty much done, and they're delivering. Like we're about to get into 4.0 and like what's all coming, and it's insane to think that we're finally here at 4.0.
It's been a long time coming. We've all been patiently waiting. It's just around the corner. I mean, we think end of summer-ish, like September is what I've been hearing. It's
September
close.
Seems to be it's close. It's really close. But before we talk about 4.0, we still gotta do a quick update on 3.23. So we'll first go with 3.23.1.b. Bravo. Real quick. This one's really quick. Super quick.
Yep.
Biggest changes: Firebird's getting the 24 size missiles as opposed to the 12, and the Retaliator is getting size 3 guns on its turrets as opposed to the size 2. Now, I did mention in our Invictus walkthrough, I saw that the Retaliator had 6 size 2 shields. I'm like, that doesn't seem right. That just seems off to me. I verified today before we recorded. That is true.
Huh. That seems weird.
Yeah. My Retaliator that I got has 6 size 2 shield generators.
Yeah.
So that was an update that happened at some point, or I don't even know when. I just thought it always had 2 size 2 shield generators. The last time I think I actually looked at it, it may have happened, a year and a half ago. I don't know. Right. I just never really looked.
It's interesting.
So that's it for B. So now we can talk about the fun stuff that's coming in 3.23.2, which hopefully they get into the hand of avocados this upcoming week.
Yeah, they're.
You wanna start off?
Yeah. So this is the part of 323 that got actually pushed back. There were just some hang-ups with it that they just wanted a little extra time to polish. They said they kept it in the 323 branch, so it's not like they had to jump to a new branch and figure out how to tie it in with everything. So they just kept it rolling, and so we've talked about it in previous podcast, but this is item banks, this is personal hangars, this is the major overhaul that we've been expecting to come into the game. So it's a lot of instancing more of the physicalized cargo. We've been talking about that for a while, they've been talking about this for a while, physicalizing cargo, and this just kind of adds on to it, gives us those cargo elevators that are going to be bringing up items to us while we're in our hangars, and we can actually load them ourselves. This is taking away from a majority of the ships. They're not going to just automatically load the ship anymore, or you will have an option to do that. There are still going to be a couple ships that don't have that option, specifically the Carrack and the Hull C are still going to have to be auto-loaded, which is kind of magicked into the game. But they hope to get those things over time. Like we've been saying, the Carrack is probably going to have an overhaul to get that working. But we are expecting those cargo modules to be able to drop down and you'll be able to load them up. For a majority of ships, you will actually be able to physically load. And this is going to be tying into that, having those crews with you to help you load and unload and all that. And it's going to kind of play into piracy as well, because when you're on location, you're pulling it out of an elevator and you're physically loading your ship up. A pirate can come and take your cargo from you, or just walk off with a couple crates all of a sudden. And I mean, what I'm really excited about is the personal hangars that are coming in, the instanced personal hangars. We've kind of discussed how it's going to decide. So from the beginning of the patch, it's going to be the largest ship that you own or that you have purchased. I think it's the largest ship that you own. I don't think it's purchased ships.
I think it's the largest ship that you own that's in-game.
Yes. And then if you change or you buy something bigger, you will still get an instance hangar. I think this is the biggest thing that people have missed, is that you still get an instance hangar. It's just not your personal hangar. So you won't be able to decorate that hangar. The minute you leave that hangar, everything that's in there will go away. So if you put a bunch of cargo on the side and you put your ship away, all that stuff's going to be gone. Once you leave that instance, everything's gone. Whereas versus your personal hangar, everything that you put on the side and potentially in the middle as well will stay the same. But the personal hangar includes all of these different pieces together. So it's going to have that central area where you'll be able to bring your ships up. You'll be able to bring, for now, you'll be able to bring ground vehicles in on this main hangar, and then you have to move them to the side and then bring up your ship, that kind of thing. It includes those cargo elevators. Those cargo elevators will bring in your personal inventory and bringing in a lot of different things. And supposedly your party members will also be able to bring up their personal items into your hangar, or their personal cargo into your hangar, so you can load those up. I don't know how all that's going to work, and all of that may not work right off the bat in this first iteration, but we'll see. That's what they've talked about, and maybe that's why they had to keep it out of this last patch. They maybe just trying to figure out those little details, trying to get it to actually work with the party system and that kind of thing. But yeah, it's just an all-inclusive, big, huge change. And again, that's why they held it back, because they wanted to get it right the first time, because it is going to change how you, again, we've talked about how you interact with Star Citizen has completely changed this year and is further changing in this next patch. It's going to look completely different from the last time. If you haven't jumped in, it's going to look completely different.
And I don't think people really understand how big this persistent hangar and cargo rework is going to be. You know, normally you go into game, you press your I key, it pulls up everything that you own, and you just click and drag it onto your body. That's gone. You can't do that anymore. You can't pull things out of the magical air. You have to go to an item kiosk, or you have to go to your hangar and pull it up from there and then grab everything from those boxes. You know, there's a way you get stuff now is different.
Yeah, and it's just moving us closer and closer to physicalized everything. Like there's not supposed to be magical pop-ins and stuff. I mean, I think there will still be, like, the way the kiosk, the item bank is going to work. It's a drawer that opens basically, and then you reach in and grab your item. I mean, well, and we have it now with the Reclaimer and the Vulture, where they can create those the packs and the multi-tools and that kind of thing. It's kind of like that, where it just like opens up. You click on what you want, it opens up, and you pull it out and then put it on your body, or you put it in your backpack or whatever. I think there will still be the like I menu, but it's only going to be things that are physically on you or in your backpack. You'll still be able to like look at that, but you're not going to see that like your ship inventory or your local inventory, that kind of thing. That's the part that's definitely going away with these next iterations on the item management and item physicalization.
And when you interact with the boxes of items, like how we have them now, it will have that eye menu. Like, here's the crate, here's everything in that crate, here's everything on you, and you can only put what's on you. So like, if you have a crate filled with like 36 guns, well, you can't just magically throw those out of the box into your carry-all bag. You know, you can put the 2 on your back, and then you have to go put them in a weapon rack, or maybe you just have a box of guns that you leave in your personal hangar somewhere.
That's going to be nice, I think, because we do that now with we have a ship with an SCU box on it, and we pull it out when we need armor or whatever, or when our org mates need armor. So that's actually going to be a nice quality of life thing for us, because we won't have to lock one ship into just holding on to that item or that cargo box. We can have it setting off to the side and be able to pull that out. Obviously, that's going to be locked to your home planet where your personal hangar is going to be, because that is one small stipulation of these personal hangars, is that it's only on your home planet. So even if you want to move all of your items up to, we're on Orison, so if you want to move it up to Seraphim, you're going to be going into an instance hangar and you won't be able to move your personal hangar at this time. Obviously, going forward, there will be, I don't think it'll be just magic moved like some people probably think. I think it'll be like, oh, I transferred ownership up to Seraphim. Now I have to move all my little trinkets up to Seraphim. I think that's going to be how it's going to work in the future once we get to that point.
Yeah, everything will have to be moved. Now, one thing that with this whole moving forward that I think would be really, really cool, but it will have a risk factor, is the option of putting out a in-game beacon or in-game mission for a cargo hauler to move your cargo, you know, and if you're moving, like, let's say 100,000 credits worth of armor from Orison to Microtech, you know, you can put up that contract, someone can get the contract, they go, and it's just a normal cargo mission for them. They're moving your stuff. So if it gets pirated, you lose your stuff. And then, you know, you have the option of buying insurance with that, and you can declare a value. But that can also open up options of, hey, I'm moving 100,000 credits of armor. But in reality, you can maybe stuff that box full of drugs and illegal contraband.
Right.
And if the police grab that, they're like, oh, it's supposed to be armor, and they decide to, you know, do a check on the box, something's off, they find drugs, you know, that could be a really cool gameplay loop in the future.
Yeah, I've definitely heard people talk about that, and I've even had that thought before too, that talking about the Liberator earlier, I think it would be cool if like you put out a beacon and I come pick up your ships and take them to Pyro or whatever it is, or wherever it is, because it is going to have to be physically moved at some point. You're not going to be, I think there will be less of an opportunity, or it'll be way more expensive to claim your ship versus having somebody move it. But same thing with cargo. Like, hey, all I have is a C1, but I have all of this armor that I need to move, or all of these items that I need to move, and you've got a C2. Can you come move this for me? And I just put it in the cargo manifest, like that I need a cargo hauler to move this stuff. I think that's, like you're saying, that's going to be an astounding way to do this type of gameplay. Like I think they kind of have to do, or I would very much like them to do this type of gameplay and do those kind of contracts where and even if it's like, I bought so much worth of a certain commodity and I need it moved, or somebody hired me to move cargo, but I don't have a cargo ship, so now I need to hire you to move my cargo. I mean, it's like a trucking company or a logistics company where I'm putting out the contract for the driver, but I am the company that they hired to move whatever it is.
And it would be also really cool if in the future they have a way of like online ordering, I guess you can say, for the, you know, simple terms of like, hey, I'm at, are based on Terra. I'm at the Quantum Jump headquarters on Terra, and I'm like, hey, we need to order 12 CARs for whatever reason, but there's no manufacturer that has them here in Terra. No dealer that sells them, so we have to buy them from, like, let's say Microtech.
Yeah.
We can say, hey, I need to buy it. We buy it, and then it goes into that shipping manifest there to ship from Microtech to us, which a player with a whole E can come over, load up all those Pisces, bring them over, then we can offload them from there.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to do the back end economy. And even if it's having you move the materials and stuff, like just having us be a part of that economy and moving things around for us to purchase and stuff, like, and then to have those contracts for people to take and move. Like, I think that's a big part of the gameplay that the mission team can look at and that we can all kind of participate in.
And like, you could do it. Like when I buy, let's say I purchase $1 million worth of our uniforms, right, from, Stanton, and I need to move to Terra, and I can pay more and get extra insurance on it. So like, let's say I pay an extra 100,000 credits to get like 90% insurance. So if that cargo ship's destroyed, pirated, or they take the armor and run, however it goes, I will get 90% of that total. So I'll get 900,000 credits back. So I lose 200,000 credits because it's a loss for me because I got pirated, but I still get that insurance back. So I get a little bit back. Sure. Or I can do no insurance where I just pay no extra. But if it's gone, I just eat the cost. And I think that would be really cool to offer stuff like that. So that way, the shipper can be like, oh, this person didn't get any insurance on this package. And he can call up his buddy who's a pirate and can come pirate that package off of him. It's like, I got pirated. They stole it. It's like, I don't know what to tell you, man. But, and then their reputation will go down in shipping. So they won't get those missions anymore because, they're constantly being pirated. The guys who actually are doing it get a higher rating. They can probably transport more personal cargo as opposed to just general cargo of NPC. The higher your rating, like, oh, I'm a 10-star personal cargo transporter. Cool. I can transport $100 million worth of player goods, and and it creates a realism too, because like I put the order in, I gotta wait a couple days for it to come in, or a couple hours, or I just go pick it up myself. It
allows a little more opportunities. Like I've said a few times that like having that logistics company or like that basically a trucking company, and it gives them more opportunities. Bringing in the reputation system, once that kind of comes in for player reputation, it gives them ways to make themselves known. Give, like you said, having a good reputation and all that is something that they can work towards. And it'd be nice in that manifesto to be able to look at an organization and say, oh, they've got a really good reputation, or even if it's an individual, they've got a really good reputation. I definitely want to hire them versus this other guy. Like, I don't want to touch him with a 10-foot pole. So even if it's not like
cool stuff.
I think there could be ways for the system to lock you out of contracts, but then also ways for just the personal reputation to be able to look at it and say, nah, I don't really trust them enough to take this cargo on.
Yeah, there's a lot of options and stuff that you can do with that. And a lot of gameplay loops as well. Like so much stuff that you could do, which is the basics of that.
Definitely changing what we'll be able to do in Star Citizen.
And I'm down for it all. I think there'll be a lot of cool stuff that they can possibly do, and I hope that they actively look at these options, like these recommendations that people have, and the videos like we're doing now, the podcast of ideas. And I think they should look at what people are talking about, what people want, and go up with that. But I think that's it for 3.23.
Yeah, I think we've covered it pretty well.
We should do a quick small org update for Quantum Jump before we get into 4.0. So if you've noticed, our little numbers at the end of our name have changed. If you're looking at the video version of this on YouTube, I believe that's shown on the YouTube ones, right?
Yes.
Like it has numbers, yeah. So we did our org employee numbering system for our call signs and stuff. So like that's just an internal thing. So like these are the numbers that you're going to see now. But we also have changed our uniforms. So everybody is aware of that. If you're watching the YouTube one, I'm sure Bob will have a picture of the uniform up right here somewhere. And, we did it to kind of fix the mismatching blue. We had a couple different options, and this was the one that won the vote.
We've been fighting colors for a while.
Yeah, every patch the blue changes, and I don't understand why, but this last patch was pretty bad. Everyone kept complaining about it, and I said, I don't really want to change the uniforms again, because we keep changing because of the blue, so we just went with an all-white setup with the blue accents of matching armors. The blues match no matter what. So this is what we'll be rocking for now until some other amazing, fabulous armor comes through, and we decide to change that. but it's going to take something really drastic for us to change from what we have now.
And I think it still showcases the iconic colors and stuff for Quantum Jump. Makes our lives a little easier.
Yeah, I think it's very sleek, very clean design. No piece looks too small, no piece looks too big. That was another thing. The arms looked a little small in the old one. These arms are really filled out. The only thing I don't really like, I'm not a big, huge fan of, is like the front part of the pants, kind of just like open. It doesn't show the undersuit. It's like its own special undersuit there.
Right.
But, you know, you can live through that. That's pretty much it with that. Definitely look for more content that we'll be posting. We plan to be doing a lot more videos, a lot more stuff with our org mates and partners. So
yeah, we definitely got some cool ideas that are coming up that we'll be sharing in the future and putting out there. I'm excited for some of the ideas, and I mean, I'm excited for all of the ideas. I'm excited to get some of the ideas out there and in front of everybody. So keep an eye out.
I think we also have a project that we tried to do a while ago that I definitely want to try again.
And we actually talked a little bit about that the other day.
Yeah, we did. So definitely want to get that going again, because that's a great idea. I want to do it. That's what I want to. We got enough good people out there. We can do it now.
I think that was our biggest hurdle before, was just having the right people and that could participate. So yeah, I think that was a good conversation about, we started talking about 323, and then it hinted at 4.0 a little bit, but we are definitely going to start looking at, and we'll start recording here in a second. The next episode will be a continuation of this conversation. We will continue and look to the future and look to 4.0 in the next version 2 of this episode. We talked a long time about the Ironclad, which is something we are very much looking forward to and leads to a lot of different things and shows how CIG and especially the ship team is evolving and just pumping things out a little faster than they have in the past. I think they have that pipeline set up. They have that everything that they need to go forward, and now they're starting to put together those assets for each of the manufacturers. Talked about the Phoenix and the changes that they needed to make in that ship and the disappointment. Kind of briefly covered the Nursa, which is a small but mighty ground vehicle that we've been asking for a long time, and we are excited to finally get it in our hands and getting it into our org.
Longest time.
Yeah. We've been asking for so long. They finally got us a ground vehicle that can do medical. I think we covered a lot of things. We talked about Invictus and how much we liked that, and you guys should definitely check out our videos that we put out. We didn't do every day of Invictus, but we did some very in-depth videos in character on the show floor. So I think that was a very fun project for us to do, and we'll in the future we'll do it again. Yeah, it was. I really enjoyed us like actually being ourselves in Star Citizen. So
the amount of times I tried not to say DPS on the ship weapons was hard.
Yes, we definitely had to think about our phrasing, and because I even said gameplay at some point. So there are definitely things you have to think about while you're in character. That was very fun, and we definitely want to do that again in the future, and things that we're talking about for future projects, for video projects. So yeah, this was a good episode. We covered a lot of things, and we're gonna move on to the next one and then have a version 2, which will come out pretty quickly after this first one. So just stay tuned and keep up. We will see you on the next one.
Remember to rate 5 stars and subscribe and all that fun stuff.
Ding the bell.
Tell a friend. Ding the bell. Leave a comment. Leave a like. All the doodads. Do it all.
All that fun stuff.
See you guys in the next one.